Welcome back to another episode of the Biker PM. I'm your host, Anthony Pavelich, and today we have part 2 with Frederic Laforge from the Farmer's Truck. So if you missed part 1, make sure you go back and listen. You're hiring more people, you're scaling your company as well as the business. What type of internal tools, you've talked about the training and the dashboard, will you be offering to help them if they don't know if they can afford it, if they don't know that, this is going to work for their market?
We call it the tech stack or the marketing tech stack. We're looking at HubSpot. We're looking at a tool called Mailshake, which is setting up sequencing and drip email. We're looking at a tool for SMS, and we're looking at basically connecting all these dots in what I like to call, and I don't know if it exists, but I like to call it the first inclusive marketing platform, which will give you an ability to communicate with your customer via SMS, email, but also be able to do and drop voicemail or be able to dial. So a lot of older people don't have a cell phone or internet, but what if they could get a call from an automated message every week saying, "Here, okay, we're coming this week. Here's what we're going to have on the truck, blah, blah, blah." And so all of a sudden, the whole community can benefit from it. And these tools are not new. It's just they've never been really connected together.
Yeah.
And so we're working on trying to, and this applies to different industries as well. So once we figure out how to connect all these dots together, we can offer that marketing platform or at least that dashboard to other industries and give us another income potentially for us to continue our work. So everything we work on, every service or product we design, always have a lens from a social enterprise perspective. We're doing this with the goal of social good. Is there an opportunity for us to make a bit of money and to fund our efforts? And that lens is really important.
So what I'm trying to drag out of you too is, without asking you directly, but I'll ask you directly, is for funding for these places, like for grants and that, how are you helping them find this information if they don't know if they can afford a truck? Like if it's a food bank or if it's
When we started talking to food banks, and if you've worked in nonprofits, you understand that people who run this out of their heart, and they have the ability to stretch pennies and to figure out a way to make 2 pennies out of 1 penny. And then, so everything they do, they're always, I would say, in a deficit or in a as far as their financial support to do what they actually want to do. We understand that. And when we came and talked to them, they're like, we want to launch a mobile market. It's a perfect way to increase access in more rural areas. We have a hard time reaching out to them. It's difficult. It's not easy for us operation-wise. And so we've designed a sale cycle based around their needs. And that means helping them finding the right grant and helping them finding the right funding to support the initiative, but also with the social impact investor that we have in the pilot, they're going to be able to have access to that mobile market and including a bunch of other services that's going to be complementary, that's going to be provided to them. So there's going to be financial support on top of everything we're already offering in the pilot to help them get that started.
Because I know a lot of, like you said, it's not inexpensive to do this. And a lot of food banks, they run on donations, they run on the good of others providing funds, providing food. So I know that's a concern for a lot, is wanting to make sure that they can actually afford to start this up. So that's why I wanted to make sure that we express that there is that assistance with the Farmer's Truck, so that if you're not sure, they can still reach out and they can say, is this something I can do? Is this something you can help me with?
Yeah, and also the model is changing. So right now we're selling the vehicle, which is definitely a high, it's not a low price tag, but it's as affordable as we could make it, I guess. And we've seen, or I've heard horror stories with other places that they've got a mobile market built and it ended up costing them $240,000 and it's non-functional. And it's like, once it's built, like it's complicated to change things. So those costly mistakes, we're trying to remove that from the equation. But the biggest thing is part of the model is a leasing model. So they don't have to afford the truck or buy out the truck right away. They will lease the vehicle, and that's going to be much easier for them to get started. And we'll try to keep that price point as low as we can possibly, especially with economy of scale, with having multiple mobile markets on the go, doing the marketing for all of them. There's strategies that we've already been working on to minimize the cost and the labor involved to really make it as affordable as possible.
So let's describe what the truck is so that they understand what they're getting. It's not just this box truck that's going to pull up and they're going to throw food in the back of. Explain to them how the truck actually works, because it's pretty interesting. It's a great concept.
So the mobile market truck essentially is the vision behind it is to remove the truck part really when you're parked, and it opens up on the side. It's like a food truck, but filled with fruit and vegetables. The aspect that's really attractive from a customer point of view is the huge display that you get. And when you want to entice people to buy vegetables, fruits and vegetables who might not be used to cooking or eating fruit and vegetables often, is to make a display of abundance. And then this is more of a psychological aspect of humans. If we see a big pile of corn and just get excited because we're like, hey, this is fresh corn or something. So, but if you see one last piece of corn in that pile, you're like, nope, that's corn that's got something weird in it. I don't want anything to do with it. And it's just subconsciously we're thinking about that stuff. So the biggest display we could, and so that's what we did. We've designed a biggest display we could on a box truck. The side of the truck opens up towards the sidewalk, and the truck is as low to the ground as we can make it. So it makes it easy for people to shop when they're next to the vehicle. The clerks that are working, the operators, are inside the box and are serving customers. And inside the box, there's also a cooling system that we've designed. The cooling system is probably the most interesting part of the design because it uses ice packs to refrigerate a ton of food. We've looked at many different options, from generators to battery packs to propane system to all kinds of different ways to make an efficient cooling system. But to cool things down, there's no real easy way. It just takes energy. We've had a generator. We've had problems with our generator. We've talked to our customers who has generator. They all have problems with generator. It's expensive. It's loud. It makes emission. It's complicated to maintain. We're trying to avoid that as much as possible. So our whole cooling system is this giant ice pack that circulates air through. When it hits the right temperature, it stops and it runs off 12 volt and it runs all day. And that's simple as that. If something breaks, it's the ice pack. You change the ice pack, you're good to go. It's simple. And that was the goal behind it.
Financially, that's good because you don't have to worry about the expense of a large generator. So, an ice pack breaks, you put another one in, you're still working. You're still providing service instead of having to go back to the office because your generator broke and your cooling system.
There's always a challenge with some customers because they run mobile pantries. They will have protein and some dairy items, and our fridge is really designed for produce because it is a passive system. So at the end of the day, if you didn't put enough ice packs and it's been a really, really warm day, the temperature will probably be a little bit higher than what you've set it at. So it's not a perfect solution. If you are doing frozen meat or stuff like that, you can put it in a different cooler and put some ice packs. Some states, they require different requirements when it comes to food safety. And so it's the best compromise based on all the conversations we've had and us operating our own mobile market. And it's not something you really understand until you start operating your mobile market. And so we're trying to be proactive and teaching that to our customers. And so far, so good.
Do you feel overwhelmed, overstimulated, and overworked? There's so much you need to do, but you don't know what the best way to do it is? And you're not sure where all your time goes each week? Jump on over to my website, pavproconsulting.com. You can download my free PDF, The 5 Proven Strategies to Steal Back Lost Time and Money in Your Business. And while you're there, you can book a free process discovery session. pavproconsulting.com. Move forward with confidence, focus, and productivity. Yeah, and like you said, there's this basic model, but then you also have the opportunity to add different options on if you're interested. So let's talk about those options so that they understand that it's not just here's our cookie cutter, box truck. If you want to add something on, you can.
Yeah, so we start with a base model, which is like the mobile, we'll call it the farmer's truck mobile market. And then depending, for example, we're working with a customer out of Colorado to design a hydroponic system because part of their funding and their effort is food literacy and agriculture literacy. So to be able to show kids at school how hydroponic system works, and so they want to have that on display. They can go to pull up in any school, and at the same time they can sell their vegetables depending on their mission. And usually food literacy is a big part of that. And so we'll try to work with the customer and try to figure out the best solution possible. Right now, we have a customer in Louisiana who has a lot of dead zones when it comes to their 4G network. And so they need, if they want to process payments and stuff like that, they've installed satellite internet, which is like I think is amazing.
Yeah.
But all these little things, we're learning through our customers' lens as well, based on their challenges. And then okay, so now that's a possibility. It's an affordable service. Next time we have a customer with that challenge, we can offer that. So we're building kind of these options as we go, I guess.
That's one thing that I found impressive too, is that you're taking feedback and you're doing a lot of research and development based on that feedback and coming up with new options to make sure that this is the trucks can not only grow with the owners or the lessees, but that it also serves the needs equitably instead of, so that everybody has what they need and it's not, like I said, just a cookie-cutter truck.
Yeah, and I mean, my background is product design, and the first thing you learn in product design is human-centered design. You try
Yes.
you remove yourself from the equation, you be an observer in the interaction, and you try to be pragmatic about it.
Like I said, that's one thing that really impressed me, and because too many people will say, this is what I want to design and this is what I want to give out, and focus on that instead of starting and saying, okay, but what do you need? And taking that feedback and actually applying it.
I found in product design, the best way to describe it is there's the customer need and then there's the business need. Customer needs, if you focus on that 100%, you'll end up with a product that's free and you're not making any money.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's just customers will always want more, and that's just the way it is. And it's a fair thing too. You just grow with the service and you're expecting more. With the business side of things, if you're focusing too much on the business, then you end up with what I call, I guess in the industry, dark patterns, which is, trying to fudge people into a certain direction so they spend more money or, so it really is about trying to find that balance. So, keep the business good and sustainable so you can offer that, but also make sure you have an impact. And the customer value, or the value that the customer finds, needs to be balanced with the business need.
Yeah, and that business need's going to change. So that's where I think for the farmer's truck to actually be engaged in continually finding new ways to help is important.
Yeah, this is our strategy for, a lot of people are like, are you patenting this? And I'm like, well, patents are as good as the pocket you're feeding the lawyers with. It is. You got to defend yourself. You got to, put pressure. You have to send cease and desist. I mean, it's that game, right? And a lot of law firms do that game, and there's some patent trolls involved. I'm like, you go ahead. As soon as our product is out, you can copy your product. I mean, you can look at it. You can reverse engineer it. It's not complicated. Most of the stuff we use is off the shelf for a good reason. Because we wanted to make it accessible and affordable, we have to. And if I'm going to spend any money on protecting our ideas, I'm going to spend it on creating new ideas and trying to disrupt ourselves. So if I had to come in the market today as a new farmer's market or farmer's truck, how would I take on the farmer's truck market? And so
that's
R&D,
a good view.
It is. And I'm like, you have to be disrupting yourself in order to be at least a couple steps ahead of everyone. So when I think about us and the industry that we work with, the truck body industry and the manufacturing industry, I don't know any one of them who would bother doing this kind of sales cycle, helping the customer write grants. And like our sales cycle is 8 to 12 months, sometimes 16 months because of that process. And so we're very, very patient, and that's part of the game. And I mean, that's why we're doing it. But so I think the market that we're in is an evolving and a growing market or emerging industry, if you will. At one point, there's going to be other players coming in the game, but I think we have at that point, we'll have a really strong brand. And we already have, if we get a lot of referrals from different mobile markets all over the US, and you should talk to Farmer's Truck, talk to Fred about that. They'll be able to help out. So I think we're already there from brand recognition. So we're on the good path to keep that market, I guess.
So before we end this, that's a couple of things I want to ask you. What can they expect, what steps can be expected if somebody is interested in starting the mobile market? I'm hoping this will be out. We're going to try to work so this is released at the same time that the RFI is released so that it all coincides, so to help out with bringing on interest in it. But what can they expect once that RFI is released?
So when the RFI is released, there's going to be quite a bit of questions, I'm sure, because it's something new and people are not necessarily familiar with a mobile market model, period. So we got to start from scratch and explain why mobile markets are a good thing, the impact it has, and then from that point on, okay, well, the farmer's truck model is a different model than what you see. So we're going to have, I guess, there's a webinar. They'll be able to ask us a bunch of questions. Once they've been selected, we're launching one mobile market first. And part of the onboarding for that organization is for them and with our facilitation and with our help to engage with their community and make sure that the community actually has an understanding that this is coming. And it is a community event when you park a mobile market full of fruit and vegetable. And so they have to embrace it. They have to be on board. They have to feel like their voice is heard. For example, where is it going to park? Where is it? Which place is it going to address first? And we'll work with them for a couple months on that community engagement, and then we're going to do a soft launch of their mobile market to help them really get to. And part of that is training and coaching, but really get them comfortable with the operation, setting up in the morning, packing up at night. And once they're really good to go, then we're going to be basically there to help when they need it. And so phone call, or we need to get on location and help out, that's also an option. So we're really open to really figuring out where we draw the line in between giving them enough responsibility that they feel comfortable and they feel like they're able to do their thing, and where can we come in and try to remove some of that pain off their plate.
Enough hand holding to make sure they're comfortable, but not too much to make them feel like they're being managed.
And I always bring up the Betty Crocker analogy, which I'll explain to the audience, I guess, is when they came up with the product of a cake in the box, all the ingredients was included in the box and you just needed to add water. It wasn't selling and they couldn't figure out why. So they did a focus group, and turns out people didn't feel like they were cooking when they were buying the product because they wanted to cook without cooking. So it's a bit of a paradox, but essentially they removed the eggs and the milk, I believe. And now people would add milk and eggs and feel like they're actually cooking a cake, and all of a sudden it flew off the shelf. So where's that line? Where's that Betty Crocker line where we can be helpful?
I like that. And
give them enough to feel like they're doing a difference.
So until the RFI is released, where can they go to find out more information about the Farmer's Truck?
Go to our website, thefarmerstruck.com. And you'll be able to find, there's going to be some links in there to get to that pilot. You can also take a look at our blog, because we write a lot about food insecurity and things that we find around the world that are like blue zones, which is a really interesting concept, and trying to understand how we can bring that mentality with us and teach that. So thefarmerstruck.com is where they want to go.
And if somebody wants to contact you, Fred, how do they do that? What's the best way to contact you?
The best way to reach out is if you go on our website, there's a contact us page. Click on that, fill up that form, and I'll be in touch as soon as possible. It goes directly to my mailbox.
Great. Well, I appreciate you being here today, Fred, and I can't wait to get this out there, and I can't wait to see this launch.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of the Biker PM. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a comment. I'd love to hear what you think. And remember, if you're an entrepreneur that wants to be with like-minded individuals and improving their project management skills, join the Biker PM Facebook group. Until next time.